There is a film that exists in the periphery of memory, a ghost in the machine of early 2010s cinema. The Factory, a 2012 thriller largely relegated to direct-to-video obscurity, is not a film you simply watch. It is one you inhabit, a cold, damp space where narrative and nightmare converge. On its surface, it follows Detective Mike Fletcher, played with weary determination by John Cusack, as he obsessively hunts a serial kidnapper in the frozen industrial decay of Buffalo, New York. Yet to label it a procedural is to mistake the engine for the product. The film is less about solving a crime and more about dissecting the corrosive machinery of fixation itself. The production of The Factory is a story of convergence and constraint. It was the directorial debut of Morgan O'Neill, an Australian actor and writer, working from a script he co-wrote with Paul Layden. The project attracted Cusack at a curious juncture in his career, post-iconic 90s roles, but before his later ventures into genre fare. He reportedly sought a gritty, character-driven piece. Filming took place in the stark, post-industrial landscape of Buffalo and Hamilton, Ontario. Cinematographer Peter Holland deliberately used the environment as a character. The palette is one of steel grays, concrete whites, and the sickly yellow of sodium vapor streetlights, leaching warmth from every frame. This wasn't just a setting, it was a psychological state made manifest. A crucial, often overlooked piece of trivia involves the film's sound design. The team utilized field recordings from actual abandoned factories, the groans of metal, distant drips, the hum of dead electrical systems. This ambient layer creates a pervasive unease, a sonic prison that mirrors the literal one the villain constructs. The environment isn't just seen, it's heard, felt in the bones. This atmospheric foundation supports the film's central theme. The Factory as metaphor. On one level, it's the killer's lair, a literal assembly line of horror, but more profoundly, it represents the human mind as a production facility. We see this in Mike Fletcher. His obsession is a machine that has been running non-stop for years, consuming raw trauma and producing only more desperation. His daughter's disappearance years prior is the catalytic event that jammed this internal machinery. Every action, every lead chased in the present-day case is an attempt to debug a system error that cannot be fixed. The investigation becomes a futile loop, a program running in the background of his life, draining its resources. Cusack's performance is key here. It's not explosive rage, but the quiet, grinding fatigue of a man being slowly processed by his own grief. Conversely, the film presents another factory, the one operated by the kidnapper, played with chilling detachment by Dallas Roberts. His is a perverse inversion. Where Mike's internal factory is chaotic and broken, the killer's is horrifyingly efficient, orderly. He doesn't kill his victims immediately. He processes them, holding them in a state of suspended animation, attempting to reconstruct a lost relationship. His crime is a form of manufacturing, an attempt to build a new reality from stolen parts. This brings us to the film's most potent and disturbing theme, the construction of identity. The killer isn't merely collecting women, he is trying to assemble a specific person, his estranged wife. Each victim is a component. Jennifer, Carpenter's character, an escort who becomes a target, represents a wrench in this works. She is not a passive component, but an active agent with her own history of trauma, her own fractured identity. Her survival instinct forces a malfunction in his system. In their scenes within the factory, we witness a clash of two fabricated selves. The killer's meticulously crafted fantasy versus Carpenter's raw, strategic performance of compliance and rebellion. It's a duel fought not with guns, but with psychological manipulation within a staged domestic hell. The film's narrative structure reinforces these ideas of recursion and enclosure. The plot moves not in a linear, expanding path toward a solution, but in tightening concentric circles. Scenes repeat motifs, driving through empty streets, reviewing the same evidence. descending into the same basements. The editing, often using hard cuts to black, creates a staccato, mechanical rhythm. We are trapped in the cycle with Mike. Even the climax, a confrontation within the bowels of the factory, avoids cathartic release. The violence is brutal, clumsy, and deeply human, a far cry from the killer's cold methodology. It resolves the immediate threat but offers no clean reset for Mike's psyche. The machinery of his obsession may have seized, but it is not dismantled. The final shots linger on the frozen cityscape, suggesting the cold remains, the system persists. So why does this film, with its modest scope and commercial oblivion, linger? It succeeds not as a puzzle to be solved, but as an environment to be experienced. It understands that the most terrifying monsters are not supernatural, but systemic. The real horror of the factory is the horror of becoming part of a process of grief, of obsession, of trauma, that slowly strips away your agency, your identity, until you are merely a component in its grinding operation. It is a film about the things we manufacture to cope with loss. A detective manufactures a purpose, a killer manufactures a family, a city manufactures a forgetful silence over its decaying bones. In holding a dark mirror to these processes, the factory achieves a grim, poetic resonance. It is a flawed machine, yes, but one whose very rattles and malfunctions tell us something true about the cost of living with broken things inside us. In the end, the factory remains a ghost in the cinematic machine, a half-remembered whisper from a forgotten shelf, but perhaps that is its appropriate resting place. It is a film about what we bury, what we repurpose, and what haunts the empty spaces we leave behind. To watch it is to step into that silence, to listen to the echoes of its machinery, and to recognize, uncomfortably, the familiar hum of our own. Thank you for watching until the end. We pour our passion into every single video essay exploring the stories behind the movies we all love. If you stumbled upon this video by chance, there is a very high probability you might never see our channel again in your feed. So please take a moment to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and ring the bell. We are actively growing this community of cinema lovers, and your support is what helps us make our content better and more insightful every single day. Let's explore the magic of filmmaking together. See you in the next one.